Japan does not make investment announcements for effect. So when Japanese CEOs have voted India as their preferred destination for 4 consecutive years, and Tokyo follows that with a near doubling of its investment target to 10 trillion yen, which is approximately $68 billion, that is not a gesture. Ambassador Ono Keiichi confirmed the new figure at the India-Japan Conclave in Delhi this week. The previous target was already substantial. This one is a statement. The investment covers a range of sectors that map directly onto India's own strategic priorities: semiconductors, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology, advanced manufacturing. The Dhulera Semiconductor Zone in Gujarat and the Jagi Road OSAT facility in Assam are both on Japan's radar. Japan has the precision manufacturing expertise, as we know, and the supply chain relationships that India's chip ambitions need. India has the scale, the talent, and the government framework to receive them. The combination is actually the argument both sides are making to each other. The honest context on semiconductors, here it is. Building a chip ecosystem takes a very long time. It requires enormous quantities of water and demands infrastructure reliability that, while India is still building in places, Japan understands this better than most other countries. Its own semiconductor revival has required sustained government commitment and patience. The 10 trillion yen target is not so much of a check being written today. It is more about a long-term commitment being built across a decade, contingent on execution on both sides. Japan has launched PAWR Asia, a $10 billion initiative covering energy security, emergency response, crude oil reserves, and supply chain diversifications. The West Asia crisis and the fragility of the Strait of Hormuz have sharpened Tokyo's focus on what happens when a single choke point starts to close down. India is actually quite central to Japan's answer: a diversified energy and economic security architecture that reduces dependence on any single route or, for that matter, supplier. The Economic Security Initiative, alongside it, covers critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and IT, the categories both countries have identified as strategic vulnerabilities after the supply chain disruptions of the last 5 years. Now, of course, Japan's defense posture has been evolving steadily since its 2022 national security strategy acknowledged a more contested regional environment. Joint exercises with India, like Dharma Guardian, GIMEX, Veer Guardian, are expanding in scope and frequency. Tokyo's free and open Indo-Pacific framework places New Delhi at the center of a regional architecture that is being designed with China's naval expansion and North Korea's missile program as the unstated context. 500,000 people are to be exchanged across 5 years, a number which is driven partly by Japan's documented labor shortage and India's supply of technically skilled graduates. That exchange is not so much a charity. It should not be misconstrued as that. It is actually a structural solution to a demographic problem Japan cannot solve domestically. Now, for the Quad. India, Japan, the United States, Australia, well, they provide diplomatic framework that gives the investments its protection. Capital needs stability to deploy at scale. Yes, we know this. The Indo-Pacific architecture being built around the Quad is actually, among other things, a risk management structure for the $68 billion Japan is committing. The diplomacy and the money are not separate conversations. No, they are just the same conversation which are being conducted in two different venues. Please do let us know. What are your thoughts in the comments below? This, ladies and gentlemen, is Front Page by the AIM Network. Like, share, subscribe, and always remember, think AI, think AIM.